This video was made possible by sponsors like you. Thank you for supporting us on Patreon. Hey, remember that time I made a top 10 worst Scooby-Doo movies list? Well, I'm Whyboy and there were more. And I got Nero to watch these movies with me to help out with writing. Say hi, Nero. That's the spirit, so I'm counting out the new top 10 worst Scooby-Doo movies for the 50th anniversary of Scooby-Doo. Now, don't worry, Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers is not number 10 on the list. Trust me. Scooby-Doo, Shaggy's Showdown. A Wild West Scooby-Doo, boy wasn't this tired, mundane, irritating, pathetically written, and just bleh. It's a movie that really has the building blocks of a standard bad Scooby-Doo movie. A mystery told with cruddy clues, check. Bland suspects, check. Mystery Inc. all have movie gimmicks and not actually engaging characters, checkaroo. And a solid idea is butchered horribly. Oh, certainly check. As the movie's idea of asking does your ancestry define who you are is an interesting concept for a movie theme. But this is Scooby-Doo, and raising questions ironically is not something the franchise is really known for, except the part where it is. So the answer is simply yes. If your ancestor was good and a cowboy, you'll be a good cowboy. And if your pap was a bad guy, then you're a bad guy. It's a complex theme, but presented in too simplistic of a fashion, making it rather redundant to even bring up in the movie. But don't worry, unlike the other movies on this list, it's also incredibly forgettable. So even when stupid clues like fonts are brought into the picture, you'll soon forget all about... What were we talking about?
No professional would use that font. No one with any taste or self-respect would... Easy there, Velma.
Oh right, shut up, Velma. Scooby-Doo Meets the Boo Brothers. See, it wasn't at number 10, but rewatching the movie, it is a lot worse than I remembered it being. Truthfully, I was being actually nice to Boo Brothers when I placed it at number 10 on my previous list. It wasn't really because I found it that terrible, as at that point there were loads of blander Scooby-Doo movies to choose from that could fit the spot. But Boo Brothers was interesting enough on a technical level as the first bad Scooby-Doo movie that experimented with trying to write multiple intertwining plots and a treasure hunt all in one. I give it credit for being experimental, even modern Scooby doesn't really do that as much anymore. But now it really sinks in how dreadfully poorly paced and boring Boo Brothers is. If you cut out all the scenes that don't have anything to do with the treasure hunt plot, that includes use of scenes of the Boo Brothers making slapstick, the country bumpkins, the random rogue gorilla. You cut out all the filler from this hour-and-a-half long film, you would end up with 49 minutes. And that's with me being generous to scenes where the gorilla and Boo Brothers showed up to add a mystery-relevant chase and whatnot, and include the monotonous scenes of, we find a clue, Scrappy explains it, we found a clue, Scrappy explains it, again and again and again. It may be the first Scooby-Doo movie, but the pacing and structure of the movie is terrible when you can literally cut out 50% of it and you wouldn't miss a thing. Unless you desperately needed Bargain Bin Three Stooges. It's just a boring slog of a movie, and it gets worse with each viewing.
I guess we take the cake. You get it? Take the cake.
Lego Scooby-Doo Haunted Hollywood. Oh wait, did I say Boo Brothers was a boring slog? Well, Haunted Hollywood takes that and makes a viewing experience more painfully dull and lifeless. Though this is a marketing ploy banking on Scooby Lego set and a remarkably well-received Lego movie, Haunted Hollywood squanders without ever taking advantage of its Lego setting. First, despite being Legos, they only do 3 Lego-related jokes. 2 were just the same head-spinning reveal gag and then a costume change. That's the best they got. And secondly, framing the mystery as your typical 22-minute simple mystery and stretching that out to an hour and a half. If you do not have the ability to write a long-running mystery, then stop turning these into films and just do a 22-minute episode special. It worked well for the first Lego Scooby-Doo special. Good grief, waiting for the game to get anywhere in this mystery is like watching paint dry. It's aggravatingly boring. unlike its sequel Blowout Beach Bash that balances suspect, mystery, and character writing to make following the mystery more fun. I still remember what NERO said to me after we watched Haunted Hollywood for the first time, and before we recorded the watching stuff on it. So, you ready to record the watching stuff?
I'm going to bed.
It does not bode well for a movie when all it really invokes is the desire to take a nap. And NERO is an insomniac, for crying out loud.
Hello! Welcome to Brickton Studios, home to the world's scariest monsters!
ScoobyDoo Music of the Vampire. While doing research for the top 10 non-Disney musicals, I took the chance to rewatch the ScoobyDoo musicals too, ScoobyDoo Goes Hollywood and Music of the Vampire. I also made NERO watch them, and now he resents me. As I remembered one fondly and completely forgot the other, they seemed like the best chance to refresh my memory. The result of this was realizing Goes Hollywood really didn't age that well, as it's paced rather inconsistently, but it was still far better than Music of the Vampire. While the staging in the music of the first song is alright, the rest are stale. From the music to the visuals, every musical interlude is a slog to sit through. But we're here more for the fun mystery, right? Not here. As the movie seems terrified to leave its audience in the dark, so it just reveals all the answers in the same breath as they pose questions of the mystery. What bit the security guard? He zapped himself in the neck with his own stun gun. Did Shaggy get bit? No, he got slightly scratched, and yet Shaggy and Scooby left the movie for a bit to ponder. Will Shaggy become a vampire and turn on his friends? How does the fat-faced vampire fly? A random swamp kook who lives in the marsh, who also happens to be an inventor, crafted hover technology that the vampire discovers and then steals. How can you feel engaged in a mystery story when all the answers are just shown to you? It's like being stuck in a room with idiots figuring out how to open a door when there is a sign on the door that reads, "Turn knob." It's just a boring drag of a watch, poorly dated too with the Twilight references, and strangely a big missed opportunity to have a musical about vampires, and yet didn't include the Hex Girls or a more music-oriented monster? Shame on you, Music of the Vampire. Shame.
My vampire tales are fact-based, and not that lusty teen tripe that's all the rage these days.
Yeah, that modern stuff is way lame.
ScoobyDoo in Where's My Mummy? Out of all the proper What's New ScoobyDoo movies, Where's My Mummy stands the one that is the most infuriatingly boring and unfocused to watch for me. But it does hold some good promise when you first come into it. The setting is expansive and intriguing, the setup of Mystery Inc.'s surprising Velma is wholesome and reminds us they're all friends, something future movies seem to treat as a gag, and plots where Scooby and Shaggy have a duo adventure and Velma turning out to be the culprit are solid concepts. Too bad it's executed like being waterboarded with sand. On top of a snail-paced story, it continually becomes disconnected with various elements that in no way build on each other. Shaggy and Scooby's adventures is only there to explain a mystery that just coincidentally has nothing to do with the main mystery. It makes the movie feel less like a 22-minute episode stretched over an hour and a half, and more a Frankenstein combo of several Egypt-themed episodes of What's New Scooby-Doo. And speaking of the wholesome aspect and the great idea of Velma being the culprit, I still feel that could have worked, especially if it really showed the camaraderie as Mystery Inc., but nope. Throw that out, make a half-hearted "I wanted to protect you as I directly or indirectly nearly killed you multiple times" speech, and Where's My Mummy leaves you asking, where's the point?
Yeah, why didn't you let us in on the secret?
Like I said, I knew it would be dangerous, and I didn't want any of you to get hurt.
Shut up, Velma. ScoobyDoo 2 Monsters Unleashed. Fan pandering is a key marketing tool that most companies use to line their pockets, as it is a quick and easy way to bring in a fan base to your movie by just going, hey, remember this?
One shot, that's all we need. That was like half a second. Oh my god.
That's the idea of Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. Just a movie full of blatant fan pandering. Now, I've had many friends tell me they actually prefer Scooby-Doo 2 over the first live-action Scooby-Doo movie because it was more fun and kookier like the original series. And they are right. Due to James Gunn creating the first live-action movie as a quasi-lambasting of the franchise, I can see why that would be seen as less Scooby-Doo than Scooby-Doo 2, which literally has many classic monsters returning. My criticism with that is Scooby-Doo 2 seems to only look like it's more traditional Scooby-Doo. In actuality, the movie blatantly gets monsters wrong, characterizes characters to be stupid and hateable, and centers the whole movie on a much more negative idea of Mystery Inc. getting fat heads from fame. While the first live-action Scooby-Doo movie is in no way perfect and is really a rehash of the Zombie Island story with an Invasion of the Body Snatchers twist, there was, at minimum, a twist to it. There was attempts to switch things up in its narrative and character writing to give each character a motivation that did make sense to them. I mean, this Scooby and Shaggy moment is still a heartstring tugger.
Now look, who's your best buddy?
Raggy.
That's right. And who's my best buddy in the whole wide world?
Ruby-Doo.
That's right, Scoob. You are.
Can we honestly say Monsters Unleashed ever got close to that sort of feeling? The live-action films are not the best, but in comparison, Scooby-Doo 2 wins out on being the worst out of the theatrical ones. But for the direct-to-DVD side,
It's a real gas.
Daphne and Velma. Hey, you know what Scooby-Doo needs to shake things up? Let's get rid of the talking dog, the hippie, and the charming trap master, and let's make Daphne and Velma the stars, you know, the half that's often acts along with Fred, leaving only Scooby, Shaggy, then Tossing and Scrappy. Better yet, let's make Daphne dumb and Velma more meh. Truly, this was the best idea for Scooby-Doo. Daphne and Velma is just a mind-boggling idea, where in the hope to create a more empowering girl story with Velma and Daphne, results in a movie that fails to celebrate either character. Daphne, who we've always known has had an eye for fashion, and while being a damsel in distress originally, has moved past that trope by this point. She has held her own helping the mystery, and in Zombie Island is even the instigator to go to Moonscar Island. Now she is depicted as being gawked at for her fashion as if she were completely stupid. Her fashion choices include wearing her signature colors, and she is seemingly unable to dress herself. And Velma is just sort of stale, giving no real chemistry to these two on screen. I gave crap to the prequel live-action movies for being written as glorified fanfiction, but they at least gave stronger characterization and not the charisma of two wet socks. Now putting that aside, there's also the fact that even in terms of these low-budget prequel movies, this looks the worst. Plus, the writing leaves me thinking this was a script they had lying around, then they just reskinned it with Scooby-Doo stuff to pander to the woke movement and to recoup costs. This doesn't feel like a Scooby-Doo movie. It's more like budget Nancy Drew, which would explain the empowering motif, the technology, and ignoring Mystery Inc. entirely. But by ignoring Scooby-Doo, the movie also ignores what makes Daphne and Velma so great, and instead gives us a movie no one will likely ever recall by the time the credits roll.
Good night.
Well, I thought that went great.
Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost. A sequel to the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo? Wow, I hated this show, so I must hate this too, right? Well, of course I do. But it's sad for even someone who hated the show like me. This movie makes me wonder why I couldn't be watching 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo instead. At least the show is delightful in its ineptitude, especially with NERO cussing at the TV about how it makes no sense. The good things about this movie: Vincent Van Gogh, Flim Flam, Daphne being awesome, and that's it. The rest, especially centering around Fred and Velma, the wallflowers of this narrative, drag the movie down like a rock. I get it, they weren't there for the magical cases of 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, so this idea of them as the outsiders looking into the cases makes sense, but it utterly falls flat. For Fred, he's given the gimmick to feel inferior to Daphne because he isn't the leader on this adventure. This is to show Daphne stepping up to show she can be the leader too. Unless things get too hard for her, then she needs Fred to tell her what to do. But don't worry, Fred boosts her confidence by showing he did cheerleading. Oh ho ho ho, how girly and unmasculine. What, that's not the joke? then please tell me, movie, in a story where it's about empowering Daphne as the leader, why is her shining moments as leader consistently highlighted by Fred's jealousy? And why are we making fun of him with cheerleading as if a guy cheerleading should be mocked? Sort of like how a girl wants to be a leader. You're undercutting your theme with a gag. Plus, if you need to put Fred down to make Daphne a better leader, she's not really a better leader now, is she? It's just really ham-fisted and at worst sexist. But on the Velma side of things, this is the movie that really highlights Warner Brothers' new mandate for fake monsters. No more real monsters? Well, that's good in a sequel movie where real ghosts existed in the original. So, the movie bends over backward to never show real monsters and validate Velma's denial to an insulting degree. Real monsters existing alongside fake monsters wouldn't destroy Scooby-Doo, as we've had movies and shows where they both existed. All of these did that. But Curse of the 13th Ghost shows just how adamant Warner Brothers is to create studio-mandated stencil for the Scooby properties to follow. And it shows us why that makes really bad garbage.
Oh, that makes sense.
Scooby-Doo and the Monster of Mexico. This was my #1 most hated Scooby movie for many years. Hated it since I first saw it when I was 10. But sadly, there's been a lot of garbage since then, and it's down to the #2 spot. But make no mistake, Monster of Mexico is still a hot turd of a movie, let alone a Scooby-Doo movie. On a technical side, the animation and voice acting are the dullest we've ever seen, losing a lot of the impact in the goofy chases and monsters by adding in stock sound effects and just slow and flowing movement. It feels like Monster of Mexico was carefully animated, but besides for some key scenes, it forgot to also be animated and lively, leaving visuals that are just really flat and subpar. But with some potential as a mystery centered around Mexico's culture, Monster of Mexico had a lot to pull from to make this great. So the result is a Mexico-centered movie where Day of the Dead is summarized as
Sounds like Halloween.
Exactly.
the blood-sucking chupacabra is visualized as Purple Bigfoot, and we get a sightseeing tour of Mexican landmarks that have nothing to do with the mystery, and the culprit for the mystery doesn't directly even interact with Mr. Inc. and only shows at the reveal he was the monster. It's a cacophony of laziness, dullness, and with dialogue like this.
Well, I don't know how to speak Spanish. Why can't everyone just learn English?
Just why? Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island. It was almost sad to see Monster of Mexico leave my #1 spot, but there's no contest here. Comparing a movie that is technically and narratively amateurish on every level to a movie that is exactly as bad but also screws over canon with Scooby-Doo's best movie makes it apparent why this is the worst movie. The canon force-fed to us in Return to Zombie Island does not work. It makes it simultaneously a reboot, a sequel, and canon to Zombie Island, Curse of the 13 Ghosts, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, and strangely, the Reluctant Werewolf all at once. Everything you know and loved is retconned to be wrong. Magic and mystery is thrown out. The cast is completely rewritten, such as Shaggy and Scooby being antagonistic, Fred develops a fetish for the mystery machine, Daphne is just there, and Velma has turned into an equivalent of a flat earther, denying that magic and monsters are real when she has had first-hand experiences with both. It takes the darkest Scooby movie that balanced trademark Hanna-Barbera goofiness with much more mature creatures and horror and has devolved it into one big joke. Scooby-Doo at its core is a horror comedy, and all this movie did was lampoon the classic film that showed an evolution of the franchise. We are in the 50th year of Scooby-Doo, a half a century anniversary, in a franchise I've adored for its 50 years of experimentation and fun, has now been boiled down to a WB mandated safety bubble. No risks, no chances, just an all-out safe bet. And it's in that bubble that I say Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island is now the new worst Scooby-Doo movie. And arguably will hold that title, given its existence solely is made to tank the beloved original Zombie Island.
But the cat people from last time...
Must be the same people looking for the treasure this time.
And the original zombies?
Swamp gas.
Shut up, Velma. With this being Scooby's 50th, I just want to make it clear. This list isn't to rain on movies that you may personally like. You and I may have completely different tastes, and that's great. Diversity is the spice of life. I just want to keep it open that as fans of ScoobyDoo, we can want and wish for better, and having discussions of criticism towards the franchise is good, because it can lead to great ideas like Zombie Island. Mystery Inc. has done many experiments, and that's how it should be. I believe we should be open to seeing where else our crime-solving dog can go, and not be afraid to, as Miss Frizzle would say, take chances, make mistakes, and get messy. In the end, I love Scooby-Doo, and even when I hate some of his movies, I am still thankful that we still have him around, and experimentation is a key part of Scooby-Doo's longevity. Happy 50th, you guys. Thank you for watching ToonGrin's Top 10. If you agree or disagree, that's cool. Leave your thoughts in the comments below on which are your least favorite Scooby movies. And if you want to hear more of my thoughts on the worst Scooby-Doo movie, please click the link on screen or in the description below to see the Cartoon Corner review of Scooby-Doo Return to Zombie Island. It was bad. Now please subscribe and hit the notification bell, follow us on social, and if you like, you can support us on Patreon or TeePublic. Links are in the description below, and as always, be sure to tune in to ToonGrin.